You know what I learned today? There was a lot to actually take in, a lot to absorb, and a lot to really open my eyes to. And probably the biggest thing that I learned today is that Thatcher Demko can absolutely play. What a musician that guy is. The technicality, the musicality within Thatcher Demko's game is so good that it allows him to masterfully play the blues. What is up, Elias back here, and today the Vancouver Canucks came back twice. They came back in the NHL schedule, and they came back in this game in a 3-1 win over the defending Stanley Cup Champions, over the current leader of the Western Conference, the St. Louis Blues. Boy, oh boy, was this a crazy matchup. Now, my immediate reaction seeing this game on the schedule was, okay, we got this team that's coming back from an all-star break. We have two all-stars in Petey and Hughes. Petey and Hughes scored a few goals on the Blues goaltender Jordan Binnington, right? So that means automatically we're going to win this game. Well, you can kind of feel how shocked I was. Well, not really shocked, but how shut down I felt inside once I saw that Jake Allen was started, and I was like, okay, Binnington's not even going to play. There goes my joke out the window. But instead, the Vancouver Canucks come in here with their other goaltender, who also, like the Blues, is not an all-star. They don't go with Markstrom, they go with Demko, who hasn't really been given a huge bulk of starts in the previous Vancouver Canucks games. But because Markey is Markey and he just played the all-star game, he got the break. It's Demko's night in the crease, and the Canucks are just looking to get something out of it. They're still on top of the Pacific, and they're still in a position where they're looking pretty good. There was a stat that came up before the game started that said that 10 out of the past 20 division leaders at the NHL All-Star break went on to win their division once the season was said and done. That was in the past 4 years. So the Canucks were in a really interesting spot where statistically it looks like they're bound to making the playoffs. But in a Pacific race as tight as this one, you don't want to take any chances. You don't want to take any losses because, hey, we can quote-unquote afford a loss. So as the game started, I was kind of worried. Kind of thinking, okay, this team is really good in the Blues, and they're first in the West for a reason. And we saw that right away. Because Quinn Hughes, with the puck in the Vancouver corner, tries to backhand it to his other D partner, but he doesn't get all of it. He kind of chips it upwards a little bit. It's just right behind him. The Blues steal it, and as they go towards the front of the net, Hughes kind of hooks the guy who steals the puck from him. He hooks the guy, he loses his stick, and then all of a sudden the Blues score. It's a delayed penalty. If the Canucks touched it, they would have been shorthanded anyway. It's 1-0 St. Louis on a play that, I'm gonna be honest, that was kinda Quinn's fault. I'm never the kind of guy to look at a goal or look at a game and blame everything on one player. That's never what I want to do. But in this position, it was kinda Hughes all by himself. And compelled with the penalty, losing the stick, it wasn't the best look. But hey, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I don't care that he did that mistake. I posted this on Twitter, but it took us 50 games to see a bad pass from Quinn Hughes. Just think about that. Back 2-3 years ago when we had the Delzados, the Goodbransons, and the Pouliots, we would see plays like that be made probably once every game or two. Quinn Hughes just did that once in 50 games playing with the Vancouver Canucks this season, now. So, I don't really care that he did it. Sure, he messed up, but like, one mess up in 50 games played is very, very good compared to what we've seen before. So, it's a quick 1-0 lead for the St. Louis Blues. It doesn't feel great. It came 3 minutes into the first period, but the Blues ultimately are the ones who escape the first period down in the shot category. The Canucks have 10 shots, the Blues have 9. The second period, though, is where things started to come alive for the Vancouver Canucks, and it started off really nice and early, as Elias Pettersson sends the puck into Jake Virtanen, who battles the puck along the half boards, feeds it over to the point, Chris Tanev then sends it into the slot for Jonathan Tanner Miller, who spins around, takes a shot. What a beautiful placement right there, just inside the post, just through the glove of Jake Allen there. And right away, it's a tie game, 1-1. Vancouver ties it up, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, if there's a game that the Canucks can actually come back and win, it's this one. We're actually looking pretty okay. Even though we have had some bad looks on the power play, it hasn't been great. Our 5-on-5 play has been able to keep up with the pace. And keep up with the pace is exactly what happened later, because Elias Pettersson takes the puck in on a 3-on-1, which becomes a 3-on-2. About 9 minutes after the first goal, he comes in onto the side, centers it for Jake Virtanen, who has an open look at the net. And he has a great opportunity to shoot that. But he doesn't. Instead, Jake Virtanen centers it, goes over to the other side for Timothy Miller, who shoots it and he scores it. He's got 19 goals on the year. Petey has 31 assists on the year. Jake Virtanen with his second assist of the night, and all of a sudden, the Vancouver Canucks are in control. Now, the second period did escape with a Vancouver Canucks lead, but the Blues in this period, they had 16 shots to Vancouver's 8. And earlier on in the game, the commentators were talking about how the St. Louis Blues hadn't lost a single game all year in regulation where they scored first. So right away, I was kind of thinking, okay, if there was any doubt in my mind before that the Blues would come back, it certainly wasn't gone, because this Blues team has a very good statistical profile. But as we come to learn a little bit later, oh boy, statistics are only numbers. They don't depict the actual game, because the Vancouver Canucks eventually take the win because Bo Horvat gets an empty netter, and that's the game. Good night. Okay, no, we'll talk a little bit about Thatcher Demko in this third period. Boy, oh boy, that third period was an absolute slaughter for the Blues. They didn't score, and a lot of that does have to do with Thatcher Demko. But a lot of that also kind of has to do with the Vancouver Canucks defense. They were blocking shots like crazy. Several shifts in a row where Jay Beagle blocks multiple shots. Tyler Mott gets a stick or a hand or a foot or something in there. JT Miller's bending over because he's blocked one out in front. This defense is looking like that John Tortorella block shot mentality defense. And we saw that here in the third period. Now, block shots aren't always the greatest thing, because as a great hockey player, great coach once said, when you're blocking a lot of shots, it means that you don't have the puck. And yeah, the Canucks didn't have the puck that much in this third period. Boy, oh boy, that was a St. Louis slaughterfest. But Thatcher Demko is ultimately the one here who comes up with several jaw-dropping saves, and it was absolutely abysmal what this guy was doing. He's only 24 years of age, and he's already at a level where he can do that at the NHL level. Oh boy, that is absolutely nuts. Demko finishes the night with 36 saves on 37 shots. If I was a Blues fan, I would be absolutely upset. Not just because Demko was really good, but because the penalties that kind of went towards the Canucks' favor towards the end of the game, they were a bit questionable. That high stick call against Pettersson, I don't want to say that was the most legitimate high sticking call I've ever seen, but it's whatever. And they actually sent the wrong Blues guy to the box, which was even worse and kind of a bigger slap in the face too. But ultimately the Blues can't get one to go. Demko keeps on making these saves, and the Canucks get an empty net goal with like 0.4 seconds left. It's a really nice play. You got the normal empty net guys out there on the ice. Louis out there, Bo's out there, Pearson's out there. Tanev gets it over to Eriksson, who sidesteps a man, and then feeds it out in front into the middle for Bo Horvat, who buries his 17th on the season. Loui Eriksson, man, he's so elite, passing these pucks, setting up these empty netters. The Vancouver Canucks ultimately take this one 3-1 in a game where statistically 3-1 sounds like a pretty good, solid game. But the shots in this one, oh boy, 37-26 for St. Louis. Demko stood on his head, and the Vancouver Canucks ultimately take a win. They're 3 points up on the next best team in the Pacific, and if that's not a good sign, then I don't know what better signs we could have. Oh, it feels so good. Hope you enjoyed this video. And Bye.